Happy Friday, everyone. What's going on? Our weekend is upon us, and we are on the doorstep, of WWE Fastlane. Welcome back to another edition of Greg Balls of Fire. We are here to talk about a whole bunch of stuff today, including some pretty big news that has been making the rounds this afternoon regarding CM Punk and his potential return to WWE, a topic that we've been discussing for months here on the channel, or at least weeks since the shit hit the fan in AEW and CM Punk left. But it sounds like there is a real possibility of CM Punk actually coming in and probably appearing at Survivor Series in Chicago in November. So we're going to talk all about that and what the reports are saying as of right now. In addition to that, we definitely are going to talk about this week's Dynamite, some great stuff going on there with Edge and Adam Copeland and Christian and MJF and Adam Cole and all that stuff. Really fun episode of Dynamite this week. Some interesting ratings. NXT actually beating AEW Dynamite this week in the ratings, although there is an asterisk next to that, but nonetheless, big numbers for NXT. And this coming Tuesday, we have got a big one as we have the Tuesday Night Wars returning as AEW Dynamite is moving to Tuesdays for 1 week to do Title Tuesday, head-to-head with NXT, and WWE is stacking that show. So we'll talk about that. And then we will talk about and predict this Saturday's Fastlane. We got 5 matches on tap for that pay-per-view. SmackDown airs tonight. In less than 2 hours, it goes live. We got a bunch of stuff on tap, and they might tack on one more match, maybe even 2, to Fastlane and make it like a 6-match card, maybe a 7. But as it stands right now, we only have 5 matches that I'm able to predict because that's all they have advertised. So that's going to kind of be what's on tap tonight. And I'm going to let you guys know what to expect this week because it's kind of a goofy week. Now, for those of you who remember last month, WWE Payback, I actually did not watch the show live and review it that night. The card was a little bit, I wouldn't say weak, it just wasn't like a WrestleMania or SummerSlam card, and I really didn't want to abandon work on a Saturday night for a card like that. So I figured what we would do is just review the show the following morning on Sunday and do a big doubleheader, watch along, and review the pay-per-view. Well, we're going to do that for Fastlane as well. I'm not going to be home tomorrow to watch Fastlane. If this was a bigger card like a SummerSlam, I would definitely make myself available. But this is I wouldn't say it's a missable show because I think things are going to happen here. We even have the possibility of a title change. But I think overall, in terms of how the card looks, I'm going to do the same thing that I did for Payback. And what we're going to do is on Sunday, we're going to do a doubleheader. So Sunday afternoon, we're going to do that at 2:30. You are going to get my Fastlane day after review. So this is going to be 2:30 for me Pacific, 5:30 on the East Coast. On Sunday, we're going to do a Fastlane review. I will review the entire show. Then a couple of hours later on Sunday night, we are going to do a watch along of WWF No Mercy 2000, where Kurt Angle won the title. That was the big Stone Cold and Rikishi brawl when Stone Cold came back. This should be a really fun show to watch, and we're going to be doing that on Sunday night. On Monday night, after Raw, there will be no Winged Eagle podcast after Raw this Monday because I'm going to take Tuesday night off, and we're going to be doing a big double live reaction of, where are we at here? This one. Oh, no, wrong one. I can't even find what I'm doing. There we go. Big double watch along of NXT and AEW. I'm going to have AEW Dynamite here on the screen next to me, and then on the TV hanging on the wall, I'm going to have NXT, and we're going to do a watch along of both. So I'm going to kind of watch AEW here, we're going to watch NXT up here, and we're going to try to watch both of these shows, react to them, and try to have fun with them as best we can. I thought that would be a fun thing to do on Tuesday night. So that is what is on schedule. So no Winged Eagle podcast on Saturday, no Winged Eagle podcast on Monday. Those are the 2 days we normally do them. Instead, we're going to be here for a doubleheader on Sunday, and we're going to do the double live reaction watch along on Tuesday. So the links to all of this stuff is on the channel right now. You can check that out, and please do that. Like all the videos, save them for later. Give this video a like, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you are not yet already. We are so close to 40,000 subscribers, but not quite there yet, so I need all of your help. And this should be a really fun podcast today. So just wanted to let you know what's on tap for today and what's on tap for the next several days on the channel, since my schedule is a little different. I have a lot of things going on right now with work, with my full-time career job. So that's why it's a little bit different, and it might be that way for the rest of the year. But rest assured, I'm not going anywhere. You're going to see me all the time. But sometimes I might give you a goofy schedule, kind of like this week. That's why it's important to be subscribed and to follow me on all those socials. So I hope you guys are having a great Friday afternoon, and the weekend is here. And I'm going to say hi to you guys in the chat now. Let's knock out these channel members. Not a ton of people in here yet, but we got a few. We've got Max Pokebra. Wow, you're here for the start. That's awesome. 1,000 likes. Yeah, let's try to get there if we could. Jay Lambo, what's up? Nick Musser. Do I have this set to members only? I might. Let me go to, let me just check. I might have a setting wrong on here. I'm only seeing members in the chat. Customization. Just bear with me. Yeah, oops, sorry. Subscribers. I knew something was wrong. Save. Sorry about that. So if anybody's trying to chat and it's not letting you, it's because I temporarily had it set to members. Now it's set to subscribers. I'm sorry about that, guys. For those of you who have been trying to chat and can't, so I'll say hello to the rest of you once you start chiming in. But good to see Max, Jay Lambo, Nick Musser. We've got Titanium Titan. We got Zach Amato. Welcome to the family. I feel bad you had to. I feel bad that you had to subscribe just to chat. You can unsubscribe if you want, Amato. It's all good. Isaac, good to see you as well. And we've got David Brown in the house. So hello to everybody. Again, if you're just tuning in now and you were trying to chat a minute ago and you couldn't, that's because I accidentally had it set to members only. It's all good now for subscribers. Let me know what you guys have to say in the chat, and we are going to get started here with some wrestling news first. I want to talk about CM Punk and the possibility of him coming in to WWE, and then we will move into Dynamite, AEW, Fastlane, SmackDown tonight. We'll preview that, and we'll preview next week's Title Tuesday, everything that's going to happen on Dynamite, everything that's going to happen on NXT, and a few things happened on NXT this week that we need to talk about. So let's start. One moment. Remember last week when I was sick? Shit's still lingering, man. It's like 15% still in me. It's like I can't just push it out. So I'm working on it, guys. I apologize for my sniffles over the past probably 3 podcasts now. It is starting to get old, I'm not going to lie, but I don't have COVID or anything. I just got the fucking sniffles. Yo, Max Pokebra is here with $5. I am loving Timeless Tony Storm. So am I. And I am hoping that Wardlow is done better this time around. Max, I am too. I'm going to have a lot to say about Wardlow and Tony Storm when we talk about Dynamite in a minute. I loved what I saw from both of them. And hopefully this time they will not fumble Wardlow as badly as they did before. Good to see William, Beetle, White Mamba. We got Gilbert. We got Kevin, Martin Dordan. We have anybody else that's chiming in now that I have set the chat correctly. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Let's talk CM Punk. I thought maybe we could go a month without talking about him during this in-between time between leaving AEW and working out with whatever no-compete he may or may not have. He hinted that it might be a 2-month deal when he did the MMA guest commentary spot a couple of weeks ago. And when the wrestling fans started doing the math, that essentially would make him available for Survivor Series next month in Chicago. Well, we might be closer to that becoming a reality because today it was reported by House of Wrestling that, and I quote, this is what they have heard. We got a couple of reports on this. House of Wrestling kind of broke the news or story or report earlier today by saying that everyone we spoke to agreed that a return would not be out of the question if good business could be done. Furthermore, those we have talked to from Punk's camp do not feel the incidents that led to his WWE release would be held against him if he wanted to return. So that's one little piece of reporting there from House of Wrestling. The Observer had this to say: there is obviously tons of talk regarding CM Punk returning. There have been rumors that it's happening, but those in WWE have only said that no deal is completed, and those close to Punk have told us that it is his intention to return, and the two sides are in talks. One would expect, if such a deal is made, that Survivor Series weekend in Chicago would be the time to do the surprise return. Well, I can't disagree there. Now, earlier today, I forgot to double check this, Sean Ross Sapp said that he was going to be posting an update on Fightful Select. So what I'm going to do is go over there and just see if anything's up there yet, because as when I was making my notes earlier, I didn't see anything yet. So let me just see if Fightful has anything to add on this. Yeah, it looks like they did. 32 minutes ago, Fightful Select posted this report. Go subscribe to Fightful Select, best $5 you'll ever spend. Here we go. Here's what they have to say, and I have not read this. How long is this? Oh, it's pretty long. I don't want to read all of it here. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to read this before we went live, so I want to get a feel for this. Okay, let's just read some snippets here. CM Punk is the talk of the town once again, as virtually every outlet has reported that they've heard what they've heard regarding he and WWE. Roll call, we're here. WWE feels confident that CM Punk would come to WWE. CM Punk's termination from AEW led to questions about his future, blah, blah, blah. We've learned of what some within WWE think. WWE higher-ups fully believe that CM Punk would sign with the company if they had interest. In the past year, we've heard that Punk had been open to the idea, but WWE sources think the ball is in their court. And that sounds pretty likely because Punk sounds like he was laying the groundwork for this even before the bullshit happened, because he showed up at Raw in Chicago trying to mend fences with Triple H and The Miz and guys like that. So there had to be a reason for him doing that other than just to piss off Tony Khan. It was almost as if he knew that when he went back to AEW, something was probably going to happen to cause his departure from there or something. I mean, what other reason could there really be for him doing that during such a tumultuous time in his AEW run? I mean, I thought that was really fucking crazy. Fightful Select goes on to say, as of 2 weeks ago, nobody within WWE had indicated that CM Punk and the company had any talks. In late September, we were told that it appeared there were feelers out from Punk to WWE to see if there was any interest there. One WWE employee as of last month advised someone close to Punk that talking to Vince McMahon directly would have been the best course of action to secure a return to the company. In the past, we're told Vince McMahon was adamant to Fox that he wasn't interested in bringing Punk back, though Fox had been pushing for it before he even went to AEW. Multiple sources we spoke to near Punk believe he would in fact sign with WWE. So everything else here I'll have to read later, but that's kind of the gist of it there. A lot of this belief is that if WWE is willing to bring him in, he's on board with that. And I kind of agree with that. It feels like that's the message being sent there. We've spoken to several top stars within WWE and a number of names in creative. To be clear, thus far, nobody has been told anything on the talent or creative end about Punk coming back to WWE. When we asked about the teases that pick up steam on social media, we were told adamantly that those were not meant to tease a CM Punk return, though it's not impossible they could be played off in the future to generate buzz. So basically, I encourage you all to read the Fightful Select article. Just lots of information, lots of speculation here. I'm going to get a better look at that later. But basically, the gist of it is from House of Wrestling, from The Observer, from Fightful, that many within WWE believe he probably could come back if WWE wants to bring him back, and the two sides may be in talks. Now, with me, I always go with my gut. My gut tells me CM Punk is coming back to WWE. It does. And I have been adamant about how I felt about CM Punk, what he did in AEW, what led to his departure, all the way back to last year, the brawl out, the scrum, all that stuff. None of my opinions have changed about that. I feel that CM Punk was out of line, and I felt like after the scrum a year ago, forget All In, but a year ago, he should have been gone. I did not see any possible or feasible way for him to come back. I mentioned that and repeated it over and over and over again last year and early this year that, yeah, when he's healed up, he might want to come back, but that's only going to work if you get the Bucks and Kenny and Punk all in a room. They hash things out. They say their apologies, and boom, we're moving forward now. We're here to do business. But with each passing week, with each passing month, we heard that no such meetings took place. We heard that there was talks of having meetings, talks about hashing things out, but for one reason or the other, the Bucks declined, Punk declined, whatever the stories were, the meetings and the reconciliation was never able to happen. And it sounded like there was still no resolution to the heat. Shots being taken on social media, shots being taken on the mic, in segments, in promos. Then Punk comes back. His very first promo is loaded with shots against the Bucks and the Elite. Then he goes off on Hangman Page. Then he has the issue with Jungle Boy. I mean, it's just like one thing after another. And it was almost like you knew. I just never felt like he should have come back at all. If we could see the future and we knew what was going to transpire. I think a lot of us in our heads had a pretty good feeling that something like this might happen again, especially if CM Punk wasn't able to reconcile. But when you look so far ahead to the future and see what happened with Jungle Boy, or Jack Perry, at All In and that whole situation, I feel like if we would have if AEW would have been rid of CM Punk last year when all of this happened, they would be well on their way to the healing and rebuilding process now. Now it feels like they're getting there again. They're trying to move forward. They got Edge in there and stuff like that. But I feel like All In, 85,000 people could have been a really big, moment of a chapter opening, closing one chapter, opening another. The same thing Tony Khan said for Wrestle Dream. That could have been All In. After that tumultuous year they had, CM Punk's officially gone. He never came back. He's released. He's moved on with his life. AEW is moving on with their life. And then that talent puts 80,000 people in Wembley. That's a great moment and morale booster for the company. But instead, it was all for nothing almost, because CM Punk was still there. And before the first match even went live, he's getting in a backstage fight with somebody. So even though I feel like CM Punk's personality is very difficult for pro wrestling, he's ran into these problems before, I'm speaking from the perspective of a fan. And we all should do that. I encourage everybody to look at this from the perspective of a wrestling fan. Stop pretending like you're a locker room leader in one of these two companies. You're not. You're a booger-nosed fan just like me. So for us, of course I want CM Punk to go back to the WWE, because that would be surreal as hell. It's up to WWE to manage his fucking attitude. But in terms of the visual, I mean, how crazy it was 2 years ago for him to come back to wrestling in general back in AEW. You know, and then what we saw last weekend with Adam Copeland coming into AEW, Cody going to WWE, Jade Cargill coming to WWE. We just talked about this last week. The jumping ship. This is what pro wrestling competition can bring us that we haven't had since the WCW days. We had a little bit of that in TNA, but TNA was a much different entity than AEW. They didn't have the stronghold on cable, and they weren't as, you know, they didn't have the funding and the backing like Tony Khan and the motivation and stuff that he has. It was a lot of internal stuff behind the scenes in TNA too, you know, much like AEW, but at least they have one stable owner and they're not switching shit all the time and that type of stuff. So AEW and WWE, I'm not comparing it and saying it's the exact same thing as WCW and WWF, because it's not, but it's the closest thing we've had since then. And this stuff is really fun when people switch sides. So if CM Punk were to show up in Chicago at Survivor Series, just the visual of that would be incredible, would be unbelievable. The pop, the ovation, the fans flipping out, it would be so awesome. And I would be all for it. I would be all for it. Now, again, multiple things can be true at once. I think CM Punk is a shithead for the way he behaved in AEW. I do. I think the Elite and everybody had the role in it, but CM Punk is just, it sucks, because I think like AEW is the best place for CM Punk to be himself on TV, to be CM Punk. He's going to have that freedom and ability to be CM Punk in AEW, probably more so than he would in WWE. But I feel like WWE's locker room, the WWE machine, is much better for CM Punk and who he is now. You know, in AEW with CM Punk's personality, you know, a lot of people there's a lot of sides, you know, I don't have really a side, but you see on social media, a lot of people either are pro-Punk or anti-Elite, and there's really no both with a lot of people. Some people there are. If what happened with CM Punk and AEW would have been anybody else, I would have been firmly against the Elite. You know, if this would have been Danielson, if this would have been Edge, if this would have been Jericho, if this would have been Moxley, or anybody else with a track record, a history in WWE, a legacy coming in, and then having to deal with immature children who can't manage targets and all that shit, if that same type of scenario happened with anybody else other than CM Punk, I'd be more inclined to pile it on the Elite, you know, but this is CM Punk, and sometimes personalities just clash. You know, CM Punk's personality did not mix well with those guys. That's just reality. That's just life. And unfortunately, these men not being able to hash things out and work together because they're professionals with lots of money on the table who could be printing money if they took this backstage storyline onto TV and made an angle out of it. Nobody was able to do that. We hear that CM Punk was willing to do it and the Elite was not. It doesn't matter. He's gone now. It's moot. But the fact that none of that was able to come together just makes you realize how tumultuous the situation really was. And CM Punk, because of his history, think about how he left WWE 10 years. We're coming up. Do you realize that if he shows up at Survivor Series, it's literally going to be like the 10-year anniversary of the Colt Cabana podcast? It was Thanksgiving weekend, 2014, was it not? I remember it like it was yesterday. Huge deal. Just dropped it with no notice. Dropped that 2-hour podcast, just tearing WWE up. And when you listen to that, most people, myself included, when you listen to that podcast, felt like CM Punk was right in a lot of that. You could understand his frustrations. And I've said in recent podcasts that if I'm thinking about this from CM Punk's perspective, all of the problems that he had 10 years ago in WWE that led to him leaving, that those you would think have been largely evaporated by now, because WWE is a much different place than it was in 2014. I even think Triple H is a much different person than he was in 2014. In 2014 and 15, in the Authority days, he still had that trolling, snobby Triple H attitude to him, where he like kind of resented us. It was almost like just like Vince. There was some sort of perverse enjoyment that they got out of disappointing us. They liked giving us shit, and they liked when we complained about it, because in their heads, we were just going to tune in anyway. We were just going to complain online. I'm going to send a tweet. Remember all that shit Triple H said? They mocked us. They made fun of us because they were the only game in town. There was no other competition. They didn't have an AEW to react to or to worry about or to think about. They could just do whatever they wanted and jerk us off. And we got annoyed with it, and fans said so. And then the McMahons, they had the whole family come out and had that big, we're going to change things. And then the ratings went down even further. So even 10 years ago, Triple H still had that aura of douche to him. And he doesn't seem like that anymore. As soon as he got to NXT and started working with that crop and started being a groomer and considering that his baby and wanted to see wrestlers do well and excel and become stars. And he wanted to be a part of that, moving the business forward. And that was where I really saw a change in Triple H in terms of how he was, in terms of his personality that he allows us to see. And he was beloved by a lot of the NXT talent, Papa H, looking out for people, helping develop them, giving his time, all of that was, how he ran NXT really helped groom him for the job he's doing now. And now that he's taken that into the main creative role in WWE, now he has a whole lot more responsibility on his shoulders. Now it's up to him to make sure TV is compelling, pay-per-views are good, matches are good, so your attendance and your ratings and your numbers are up. He has pressure on him now that he did not have 10 years ago. He did not have that 10 years ago. His job was secure. Vince owned the company. He's married to the boss's daughter. Even if the ratings suck, he ain't going nowhere. That's not the case anymore. Triple H's job will be on the line if WWE shits the bed to the degree that it did 10 years ago. So that's what makes me feel good about a wrestling fan, is that Triple H isn't going to let that happen. So I feel like everybody grows. Everybody changes and matures and grows as time goes by. And I think the problems that CM Punk had in WWE, that he might have had with Triple H, that he might have had with other members of the roster or management, there may be some fences to mend there with CM Punk. There might be, but I still feel like Punk is probably way more angry about the situation that he recently experienced in AEW than however he feels about the WWE now and what happened to him 10 years ago. So I bet you anything, CM Punk would be more than willing to come back, because it's not the same company anymore. And CM Punk going into that WWE machine, bringing Punk and his personality in that WWE machine, he's not going to be able to do the damage to WWE that he did to AEW. He's just not, because WWE isn't going to put up with his shit to the level that Tony Khan did, because AEW needed Punk more than WWE does. At this point, bringing Punk in would just be for the surprise, for the shock value, and WWE sticking it to AEW. They got Cody, Jade, and Punk. Holy shit. Why wouldn't they want to bring him in? And what Punk did in AEW and the problems that he had there, that might not even get him in any heat in WWE's universe. This is their universe. As long as you don't do any of that shit here, we're not going to let you anyway. You're not going to have the freedom to be that way in this machine. Plus, you're not going to run into anybody that you do have problems with. If you do, there's going to be different ways that we're going to handle this, much different than AEW and all of those. For example, if the same exact type of problem happened in WWE backstage and Punk starts beefing with 4 or 5 guys in a little clique or something, it won't spill over into a scrum and a backstage fight that, and all of that. I just don't think that that's the type of thing that the WWE locker room or the WWE machine is really going to allow to happen right now, because they're just, they're such a big machine. So I think Punk coming back in, as a fan, I would love to see it. It would just be cool. What's he going to do there? I don't know. Who knows? But Punk coming back into the WWE umbrella, back under the TKO umbrella, maybe he can do some cross-promotion shit with UFC. Who knows? Be in the ring a little bit. have one little final last gasp of his career, 2 or 3 year in-ring run, and then transition into a Paul Heyman role, a color commentator, a manager, who knows, a backstage person or official or agent, whatever Punk wants to do. He would have the opportunity to do that and have a lot of opportunities under that TKO umbrella. Money is another thing. You know, what do you guys think after what CM Punk did in AEW and all of the turmoil and drama there? Is this the type of guy that can really be demanding some sort of huge rate from WWE? Oh, if you guys want me, you're gonna have to pay me $20 million. I'm like, bitch, you just burned one hell of a bridge. We're the only option you've got. If you want to come in and have exposure on a big stage, we are your only option left. What do you want to go to Impact? Wrestle in front of 16 people? You can if you want. It would really help Impact stock. It would be great for them if he went there, actually. I'd be cool with that too. But I feel like Punk is, you know, he's a big star and he would want WWE to be that spot. And then if he went there, you know, think about what you could do at WrestleMania 40. You could do Seth and CM Punk. You do Cody and CM Punk. You can do so much shit if CM Punk came back and was able to stay healthy. And I just think that the type of personality that CM Punk has, the WWE backstage machine is a better place for that personality to remain in check than AEW. And AEW is going to clash with too many people. You know, there's not, they just don't have that machine back there the way WWE does. And I actually think the environment would be fine for CM Punk. I still completely disagree with what CM Punk did at All Out last year. At that media scrum, I disagreed with every single fucking thing he said. I thought it was unbelievably unprofessional and fucked up. And he should have never came back after that. But he did. And then more problems happened. Now he's gone. But I don't work in either of these companies. If I was in WWE as a member of the roster or a member of management, maybe I might have, you know, different opinions about this. But like I said, I'm looking at this as a fan. And as a fan, I've been preaching so much lately about how competition is great. My most liked and retweeted tweet ever was about that very same topic just the other day, talking about how cool it is to see this stuff. It's something that I personally haven't seen since the WCW days. We did get it with TNA, you know, with Jeff Hardy's and Ric Flair's and Rob Van Dam's and Hogan's and Bischoff's going over there. And, you know, we did see a lot of moving around a little bit with TNA and WWE, but it just wasn't the same. TNA did not have that foothold on cable the way AEW does. You know, they don't have, you know, the promotion and the support the way AEW does. And this feels, and plus AEW is on TNT and TBS, you know, the Turner stations. It just kind of gives you the vibes from the Monday Night Wars, the Attitude Era. Granted, it's not the same thing, but it's the closest we've got. And I missed those days for 20 years of seeing Hall and Nash show up on WCW and Steve Austin, Mark Merrow, and Brian Pillman show up on WWE and Vader and the guys jumping back and forth. That was all part of the fun. That was half the fun, was witnessing those moments. Jericho's debut and the Radicals coming in. Jeff Jarrett showing up on Nitro the day after he loses to China. That stuff is awesome. Why would you ever want that to go away? So CM Punk coming into WWE, what would it benefit me to have some sort of strong opinion? No, I don't want him in WWE. No. Why? I'm just a fucking fan. What am I going to do about it? Let them deal with it. If WWE feels like they can manage this personality and they're willing to take the risk to bring that into their locker room, knowing what the other leaders they have there, the Romans and the Codys and the Seths and guys like that, CM Punk is not going to be allowed to come in there and be a raging fucking douchebag. I believe in my heart of hearts, I always trust my gut, that if CM Punk were to sign with WWE, he would be on his best behavior. He would be so happy to be away from AEW and to be back in WWE, because plus it's going to be a big fuck you to AEW. You would think CM Punk would be on his best behavior because of the personal issues and animosity he still has with his former employer. He's going to want to do everything he can do to get out on TV, you know, and work matches and programs and have good relationships with his coworkers and shit like that. He's probably really eager to do that, because if I'm CM Punk, I don't want my legacy to go down as somebody that just hated everyone, you know. And if CM Punk never wrestles again, many fans are going to remember him for the way his whole career sputtered out the way it did and how badly it ended for him. And if I'm somebody with a 20+ year career that has built a legacy for myself, I don't want to be remembered that way. I want to go out high, not low. So it feels like the ball is in WWE's court. I believe those reports, because now it's up to them. if they want to bring him in. If I was WWE, I'd lowball him a little bit. Don't give him the top dollar. Give him, a little bit less. Punk's probably even willing to take a pay cut. Does this guy really need the money at this point? He's probably willing to take maybe a little bit less money to get in just so he can, right the wrongs that maybe he feels has been done to him or whatever. And of course, like I said, stick it to his former employer. So I'm excited. I want to see this happen. Survivor Series is right around the corner. It's less than 2 months away. Just a couple months. I don't know the date on Survivor Series. It might be the 25th. I know Full Gear is the 18th, so it might be the week after. I'm not sure, but it's coming up. It's close. And imagine that. Imagine, in 2 years' time, Punk came into AEW, left AEW, Cody left, Jade left. I mean, holy shit. And Edge, jumping. There's going to be more. We're going to see more WWE people leave when their contracts are up. Maybe like a McIntyre, perhaps, or maybe even a Sheamus go to AEW. And then in AEW, we might see a Wardlow or a Ricky Starks jump to WWE. This is what we want. This is great. So in terms of CM Punk, I think everything is true. He's a shithead for what he did in AEW, but at the same time, I want to see him in WWE because I want to see it. I want to see it. I'm not a WWE or AEW employee, so it would be foolish for me to just be black and white on the issue. No, I kind of want to see it. I definitely take issue with what's the way CM Punk behaved in AEW, but seeing him come back to WWE would be great, and watching him be on his best behavior. Remember when he first came into AEW? He's got his arm around Jungle Boy. He's hanging out with the Bucks. He's having a great time, and then it just all went off the rails. So I feel like if Punk went into WWE, it would probably be like that again. He'd mend his fences with Roman and The Miz and anybody else he's taken a shit on in the last 10 years and just really be on his best behavior. Sure, bring him back. Why not? It would be great for us. You know who benefits from shit like this? Us. So let's enjoy it. CM Punk, I hope he comes back. I do. Let me know what you guys think in the chat about that. Let's wrap up a couple of quick little news tidbits before we get into Edge and Christian. Dragon Lee has been called up to the main roster. He was so impressive in his outing a couple of weeks ago on Raw that they have full-blown now called him up to the main roster. That's great. It seems like he is the hand-picked successor to Rey Mysterio. They really want to build a legacy for this guy. I think that's fantastic. As a matter of fact, I believe he faces Austin Theory tonight on SmackDown. SmackDown looks like a pretty stacked show. We'll talk about it in a minute. Let's just quickly mention our good friend Tammy Sitch. The Florida State Attorney declared Sonny a danger to society in a sentencing memorandum on September 26th. And all I can have to say to that is no shit. Complete listing of every single run-in with the law that she's had dating all the way back to the early 2000s with the drugs and the arrests and the stalkings and the countless DUIs and the driving on suspended and revoked license and stalking, all that shit. It's all there. And the sentencing is in November. She has a sentencing date. I didn't write down the exact date, but it's sometime in November. And she is facing 25 years, and the Florida State Attorney recommended a sentence of 26 years. So she's probably going to be getting the max whenever that sentence is handed down next month. And I hope that she does. I'm really anxious to get closure on that. She took a man's life because she's a fucking moron. And when she gets sentenced, it's going to be a day of celebration. It's going to be a day of celebration for me when the judge says, you are going to go to jail for a quarter of a century. And you know why that makes me happy? Because now at least Tammy isn't going to be the reason anybody else dies on the road. People die on the road every day, but at least Tammy isn't going to be the one killing anybody else, at least for 25 years. So we'll keep an eye on that sentencing when it does in fact take place next month. Let me cruise here to the chat, and then we will get into some Edge and Christian stuff because that was good. Holy crap. Let me cruise up here and get all these in. Saying hello to anybody else I missed. Yo, Jay Boba 28. Appreciate that 10, man. Hey, Greg, Punk is legitimately one of the few needle movers left in this industry. In your opinion, what is your Mount Rushmore of needle movers currently in wrestling and not part-timers? Currently, oh, God, Roman, Cody. Roman, Cody. Needle movers. Fuck, I don't know. Roman and Cody, maybe MJF. I got to think about that. Like if I'm making a Mount Rushmore of that, current ones and not part-timers, actual needle movers. I don't know. I'm bad at that type of stuff. I don't really know. You guys can give me your suggestions. Chris Ludek, appreciate the 5. If WWE can control Punk's temper, he's gonna draw them a lot of money, a ton of money. Also, if he wanted to attack a coworker, I dare him to attack Lashley. Yeah, and he's just not going to be in there just throwing his shit around. People aren't going to take that. There's people in that WWE locker room, been in the business just as long as he has, especially if you subtract the 9 years he was gone. But he tries to pull that shit with a Lashley, and I kind of thought it would be funny if, they put him in the same locker room as Riddle. But Riddle got released. Let those two clash. Riddle, fuck him up. But I think, yeah, CM Punk as well, he's just not going to be... He's not going to walk around the place like, in the scrum when he's like, I'm trying to run a business here. He's not going to have that attitude in WWE. He's going to know his role. He's going to know, where he is. He's going to, obviously still treat himself like a star, but he's not going to walk around like he's king shit and he's in charge of that place. He's not stupid. So I think that if he did start some shit or he did want to cause problems, like he would be a fool to do that. Because first of all, he'd get his ass kicked by Lashley or somebody else tougher than him, or WWE management's just not going to put up with him. If he wants to have a big WrestleMania match, how is it going to benefit CM Punk to be an asshole behind the scenes when management's like, fine, you're in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, fuck you, on SmackDown the night before. No WrestleMania match for you. So I feel like Punk's temper will be in check in WWE. I feel like he will be on his best behavior based on everything that happened to him in AEW. That's what I'd do if I was him. Chris Miner, appreciate 10 from you, man, or $9.99. I have worked at my job for years and I have satisfied many clients. I felt like a challenge and moved to a new company for more to do. Now, all of my old clients are calling me a traitor. Tribalism. Fuck them, man. It's all about business. You got to go and where you're happy. You got to go where you feel the grass is greener and where you can challenge yourself and live the way you want. Fuck what everybody else says. It's your life, not theirs. So, yeah, tribalism is everywhere. You can't escape it. Max is back with 5 more. I somewhat disagreed with you on how you would dunk on Flair or Goldberg for how they choose to act, but Tammy Sitch is genuinely pathetic. Yeah, she is pathetic. Ric Flair, I'll never stop dunking on. He is a fucking fool. And he had the thing, the roast that he walked out of. Goldberg is just a douchebag. Every time he talks, he just sounds like such a douchebag. But to Flair and Goldberg's credit, they are not racking up, a rap sheet, that would, make Whitey Bulger look like a priest, and they're not getting behind wheels of cars and killing people. I think Ric Flair definitely has a problem with alcohol, for sure. He always has, but hell, he's made it this far now. At this point, whenever Ric Flair does pass away, it's not going to be tragic because he lived such a long life and he survived health scares even. He even had a final match at age 106 or whatever the fuck he was. So Flair, is lucky that he's made it this far. Goldberg, I just don't like his attitude. Just too much that male masculinity bullshit for me. And he's such a douche bag. So that's okay, though. You disagree with me on them. At least you know that Tammy Sitch sucks. Oh, yeah, Chris, I know you're joking, but tribalism is everywhere. Oh, I see what you're saying. I was comparing how stupid people sound with the tribalism with Edge and Jade Cargill leaving. Well, you're always going to have that part, the butthole of social media that, pisses and moans and whines and cries about everything and forgets that they're a fan and has no concept of the ability to have fun. So that's their own loss. They can look back knowing that that they ruined fun for themselves. It's the way it is on this in modern times. Let's talk about Dynamite this week. Holy shit, what a interesting show, to say the least. We had a lot of stuff happen on the show. I'm not going to go through the exact order of the matches here. Let's just talk about the big stuff. First of all, they did a rating of about 800,000, which is a bit on the low side. But what was surprising about that is the night before on NXT beat them in the ratings. I think they did 867 or 867,000 to Dynamite's 800K. Now, Dynamite still won in the demo, but NXT won in the overall rating. So when I saw that, I'm like, that's good. Of course, the butthole of Twitter is going to become inflamed. And you're going to have people celebrating the low rating of AEW and debating and blah, 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 and you're just going to have that nonsense, right? Well, come to find out that not only did we see the audio issues on Dynamite on Wednesday, apparently there was also listing issues, like DVR listing issues or something like that. Here's what Fightful Select had to say about that yesterday. Things haven't been smooth sailing between Warner Brothers Discovery and AEW over the last week. On last week's episode of Dynamite, there were several audio issues through the TBS feed. The situation persisted on the October 5th episode, but that wasn't the biggest problem. Warner Brothers sources confirmed with us that they became aware of a mistake regarding AEW Dynamite's listing yesterday morning across multiple providers that likely caused viewership issues. The Warner Brothers source called all of the issues inexcusable and admitted they felt bad for AEW. We were told that there was a lot of frustration within AEW as they often get blamed for these issues, but there was nothing they could do. And that was the first thing I saw. I was at work during Dynamite, and I'm looking at my phone, I'm reading Twitter, trying to get a feel for how the show was going. And I'm seeing these audio issues, and it's like they're salivating, and then it's the IWC, they just pounce. Tony Khan's got fucking, mud show shit, and it's this low budget crap, and it's all their fault. Like, they're just so eager to pile shit on or blame, and I didn't really care about that because I'm like, well, whatever. I don't, audio issues happen in wrestling. We've seen it many times in WWE. This happens across the board in any sort of live TV format. We've seen it in sports, baseball, football, basketball, little fuck ups, hiccups, things like that happen. If it's your production team's fault or if it's the network's fault, it just depends, but this is not exclusive to AEW. WWE's had a bunch of little hiccups where we've heard commentators, talk by accident during the pandemic. They went to commercial and all the wrestlers stopped wrestling. Imagine if AEW did that. So shit happens. So everybody's like, Tony Khan doesn't have his shit together and AEW's fucking up and they got a Bush League, production team and all that stuff, which is not true because AEW spares no expense. They have great production. They have great production values. Awesome. Better than anybody else that's not been WWE. We do watch-alongs every Sunday on the channel. We watch a lot of WCW pay-per-views. We always laugh at how shitty their production was. It's like, how can this company that's doing so much big ratings, great attendance, they've got so much attention on them, they have all the biggest names in wrestling with the NWO and Goldberg and Hogan and all this stuff, they're firing on all cylinders. They're beating the hell out of WWE, but the production is shit that a 12-year-old could do on their own, computers, video software that comes with it, like this, the basic of basic stuff. And we always shit on them. AEW's production is fine. I've got no issue with their production. Some of the issues are frustrating for fans, especially if you're trying to watch a segment or a promo or a match and you can't hear shit. That sucks. But watching everybody just immediately start dunking on, it's Tony Khan. They want it so badly to be Tony Khan's fault. It's in them. It courses through their veins. Anything that gives them a chance to use the daddy con or the snowman shit or any other fifth grade fucking insult that they're too unoriginal come up with themselves, and they just jump and they pounce on it. And then we find out that apparently this was TBS issues. Really didn't have anything to do with them. So if this happened in WWE and USA was fucking up Raw's stuff, would everybody be jumping on Triple H about it? If USA fucked up a listing and the USA Network feed was screwing up their audio and stuff, would fans be jumping online to take shits on the head of Triple H? No, because that would be stupid. Why would we do that? It's not his fault. So why are we doing it in AEW? Because fans like to jump on Tony Khan. They live for it, especially the haters. It's what they do. So apparently none of this was even their fault. And from what I could gather on social media on Wednesday night when I was reading, I'm like, okay, here's what I can gather. I even tweeted about this. I'm like, correct me if I'm wrong here. TBS had issues with the feed that caused audio issues during the Adam Cole and Roderick Strong segment, right? Tony Khan rectified that by requesting that Warner Brothers Discovery give them an overrun so they can replay the segment. That was Tony Khan rectifying a problem that he didn't even cause because he wanted the fans to see that segment. At least they weren't like, oh, fuck, we'll just air it next week or put it up on social media. No, he took care of it right then and there. I don't even called them up. I don't know. How do you call Warner Brothers? 1-800 Warner Brothers. Hey, assholes, I'm going to need an overrun because your audio fucked up. A hilarious feng shui segment at Roderick Strong's house. I'm going to need that to be played back. To me, that's commendable. Not a criticism. I think that's great that he took care of that. And hopefully these things don't persist. And hopefully TBS and TNT, I don't know if we've had these problems on Collision or not. I think it's just a Dynamite issue so far. But hopefully these things will not continue. But at least for the problem that they had, you had a promoter that took care of it, rectified it. They replayed it so we could all hear it properly. They didn't direct us to YouTube or to Twitter as they watch it on social media or anything like that. Or they didn't show it on Live Wire on Saturday morning. No, they gave it to us right then. 1997, right before the summer, Brett's in the wheelchair, sitting down, talking to Sean. This is right before the shit hit the fan between the two of them. Brett's in the wheelchair, and he's cutting that promo on Sean. And the finish is supposed to be Sean kicking Brett once he stands up, kicking him and knocking him over the wheelchair, and the show's going to go off the air. But Brett talked too long. He kept talking. He kept talking. Show went off the air. Sean never got a chance to kick him. They had to show that shit on the weekend shows, on Livewire, on WWF Mania, whatever. They had to show that replay over and over. That was a massive gaffe. That was a massive fuck up. Nobody was the next day, because I remember, was saying that WWE doesn't deserve to be on TV and they're Bush League and they can't even do, that wasn't really, we were all disappointed that we didn't see the spot, but apparently it turned out to be Brett's fault because he talked too long. But that's just a regular thing that happened. Nobody jumped on Vince McMahon over that. Just fucking happened. Shit happens. A bigger issue is what happened at Halloween Havoc 1998 when they missed the whole goddamn main event because Eric Bischoff has the pay-per-view timing skills of a goddamn gerbil and didn't realize that he's putting Meng and Barbarian and all these other stupid matches in the ring, that he's burning his pay-per-view time. And by the time the bell rings for Goldberg and DDP, your pay-per-view feed has been cut. So this is a very minor thing that I think fans are, they jump on anything and use anything they can as ammunition against whoever they've chosen to hate. And I thought that was really, really silly. So I don't know if the DVD or DVR listing errors, how much that would have affected the ratings. I would imagine it affected it a little bit, but probably, most likely, had none of those issues been the case, they probably would have drawn probably around the same thing as NXT. They probably would have been a little closer to that 900,000 number. It's not like they lost 400,000 viewers because of this, but they probably lost 100,000. And they probably would have been much closer or better than the NXT rating had that happen. But at the end of the day, this is still kind of good news for wrestling fans. Look at the number NXT has pulled. Look at what WWE is going to do next Tuesday. For all the fans who say WWE doesn't think AEW's competition. Oh, they don't? Well, then what the fuck is Cody, John Cena, Becky Lynch, Paul Heyman, and The Undertaker doing in NXT? If they don't consider them competition. Get your head out of your ass. That's ridiculous. So there's my 2 cents on the latest tribal bullshit in wrestling. But they had some audio issues. They fixed it. They had some DVR issues, hurt the ratings. Let's just hope all that's rectified. Let's hope whatever's going on in Warner Brothers with their production departments and their feeds and all that stuff is fixed. I'm not a production guy. I don't know how to fix it. It's their job to fix it. So let's let them fix it. But on Dynamite, the biggest thing we saw, well, there's a bunch of big things. But I think the biggest, obviously, was the debut of Adam Copeland on Dynamite. So Edge was going to come out on Dynamite for the first time. This was the closing segment of the show, I believe, although everything's out of order here. So I don't know if this aired last. I think that it did. And actually, I'm sure that it did. And Tony Schiavone was the one to introduce Adam Copeland, the rated R superstar Adam Copeland. He comes out. Now, we did learn last week some interesting notes about his music. Apparently, it's Beth Phoenix's voice. She's the one that says, "You think you know him," before Alter Bridge starts. And even the entrance video that they shot prior to Wrestle Dream was shot by Edge and Beth privately, which is kind of cool. So Adam Copeland now, the rated R superstar, makes his AEW Dynamite debut. But he was on the show earlier. He showed up. He just popped in backstage during a segment with Renee Young, Chris Jericho, and Kenny Omega. Renee and Edge is so good to see you again. And Edge and Jericho have a long history. Cool to see them shake hands. And then Edge meets Kenny Omega for the first time. And Kenny says, "You had me on the edge of my seat." That was a very, very Canadian segment. And I loved every bit of it. So that was great. But then he's out in the ring with Schiavone. And he basically comes out to cut a promo explaining his decision to come to AEW, what led up to that, how he spoke with his family and talked with them, and talked with his little girls. And his daughters said they want him to go have fun with Uncle Jay. And he goes, you guys know him as Christian Cage. So that's what I'd like to do now. He calls out Christian Cage. And Cage comes out. And he's got his belt and his turtleneck and the whole deal. And Edge says that Christian looks like more, he says, you got your nose stuck out and you look like more of a dick than usual, which was a funny line. And he said, but despite all of that, I still love you. He still love you. But then he yelled at Christian. He goes, you were going to smash Sting's head with a chair. Sting, the same man whose photo you brought to the barbershop and posted on the mirror and said, give me that. I want to look like that. He used to pretend to be Sting. I used to pretend to be Lex Luger. That was us. Everything that man did, 4+ decades in the industry. And you're going to brain him and squash his brains all over the fucking mat, you piece of shit. I cannot believe you would do that. But he still loves him. And he says, the reason I'm here is because it's time. It's time for us to finish our careers together. I'm here because we've talked about this our whole lives. We're going to end our careers together. That's why I came here, to finish my career with you. Let's team up one more time and ride off into the sunset together. And then Christian hugs him. And the way, just the little extra touch of Christian kind of putting his head on Edge's shoulder. It's just, he's so good. Christian is so good. Hugging Edge, brings the microphone up to his face. Go fuck yourself. Insanely good. I mean, chills. You know, and I love this for Christian because it's like this run of his, it's kind of like the song Bohemian Rhapsody from Queen. Classic song from a classic band. Gets brought back to life in 1992 when it's featured in Wayne's World, opening up a whole new generation to Freddie Mercury and Queen, who may not even knew he existed. And what I've been seeing on social media, on Twitter, regarding Christian is people have been posting all of these like kind of forgotten but classic moments of his in TNA, in WWE, of very entertaining things he's done or said or great matches he's had. And I think a lot of these maybe younger fans, let's say you're an 18-year-old fan right now and you're watching Christian on TV. You were probably pretty young when he was doing all that shit. Even when he was when he first came in, you weren't even born yet. So there's a whole part of Christian's career, early career, that maybe a good portion of the young fans have never gotten a chance to see. And now it's like Christian's finally getting his credit for that because he was always kind of number 2 to Edge. You know what I mean? Christian always had to live up to Edge. They always maintained a good relationship through the whole thing and all of that. There was never any, personal animosity there between the two. They've always remained brothers and friends. But Christian was always, kind of number 2 in the shadow of Edge, even though Christian still did a great job paving his own way. That one little brief run he had with the World Heavyweight title, at least he got it. It's a very underrated program with Randy Orton back then, by the way, back in 2011. And, he did a great job making his own career path. And I feel like he developed his own legacy outside of the shadow of Edge. But he still was always looked at as the number 2. It's kind of reversed here because I feel like as great as Edge was in WWE, his run since he came back in 2020, the run that Christian is currently on now, I think is one of the best heel runs I've ever seen in all my years watching wrestling. So now it's like Edge is going to have to come into the company and he's going to have to try to hang with Christian, not the other way around. Edge is the one that's kind of the number 2 here. Edge is the one that's going to have to work really hard to do a better job at his job than what Christian is doing at his. And that's great. I'm so happy for Christian that he's kind of in the driver's seat. He's the one with the championship. He's the one getting all the buzz. Granted, Edge coming in was a huge deal. And it's been the talk of AEW for, the past week. But him coming in during this run of Christians, Edge has got a lot to live up to. He's really going to have to work hard to be as good of a babyface as Christian is being a heel. And this implies that now Adam Copeland is going to have to battle Christian at some point. Adam Copeland faces Luchasaurus on Dynamite this Tuesday. At some point, maybe he will face Nick Wayne. Edge actually faced Nick Wayne's father, Buddy Wayne, on an episode of like Sunday Night Heat 25 years ago. It's floating around out there on social media. So maybe you get an Edge, Nick Wayne match, and then he gets Christian last, and you get a match. I don't know how they're going to do this angle. I'm going to be excited to see how it plays out. We've got Full Gear coming up next month, a show that I'm going to be at, by the way. And maybe something happens there. But you would think, and let me know if you agree or not, whatever they do with Edge and Christian in terms of them being against each other right now, at some point in Edge's AEW run, they have to team, right? So Edge is either going to have to go heel, or Edge is going to have to be the one to talk Christian out of the way he's being. But it's like you want to be careful not to rush that, because I am in no rush to see this current version of Christian Cage go anywhere. It's gold. It's money. He's so terrific. So I don't really want that to end yet, but at some point it's going to have to. Now, we don't know how long Edge's deal is for. I would assume it's 3 years, but we don't really know. So there's plenty of time to do it. Edge, too, he might not be working, all the time. There might be some weeks he's off TV or whatever here and there. And let's hope, big fingers crossed, that Edge and Christian don't deal with any injuries throughout this thing, because we've had injuries derail 2 of CM Punk's title runs. Injuries have derailed the MJF and Adam Cole story. It's taken matches away from us on pay-per-view, like Danielson and some other matches here or there, guys missing. Let's just hope that everybody stays healthy here, because that's just going to be terrific. So everybody is healthy, and this storyline is able to progress the way AEW wants it to. I feel like at some point, Edge and Christian, Adam and Christian, need to come back together. And if they did that, I put this on Twitter, could AEW call them Edge and Christian, like spell it EJEN, Edgen, KRISTIAN, Christian. Edge and Christian, one word, Edge and Christian. Could they do that? Is it legal? I don't know. If they did that, and they do team up, and you find yourself in AEW, Tony Khan's looking at his roster, and he goes, okay, I've got Christian and Adam Copeland on the same page now. They're together. The Hardy Boys are still here. Let's do it one more time. Let's just do it one more time. The Hardys are very tough to watch. It's hard to watch them now wrestle. They're both so incredibly past their prime, but I still think an Christian and Edge versus Hardy match in AEW is something that a mark like Tony Khan is going to want to do. And that's why I'm glad that sometimes that promoters can be marks, because it can give us matches like this. And the match is not going to be, I was at SummerSlam 2000. I saw the TLC match, or the ladder match between Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys live. I've seen Edge and Christian face the Hardys many times in person too, way back in the day. I've seen all their best shit, but it would kind of be in the same realm or vein of what WCW did in 98. They had Sting and Warrior, the Blade Runners reuniting to take on like Hogan and Bret Hart. That's one of the craziest tag matches I could ever imagine for that time. I remember thinking it was really surreal that match is even happening. Bret and Warrior in the same ring, Bret and Hogan on the same team, Sting and Warrior teaming and reuniting and seeing each other for the first time in 15 plus years, whatever it was. It's incredible. So I would maybe like to see that. Maybe not a ladder match, because they don't want to ruin the legacy of great ladder match, legendary matches that they've had. But it might be cool to kind of see that, or at least see them all together. Maybe not a match. Maybe the Hardys are just too far gone and you don't want to actually do a match, but you got to have a segment or something to where maybe they recreate that thing from '99 where they all shake hands or something. And I know Edge and Matt Hardy are on perfectly good terms now. They were able to mend those fences, so there's no more animosity there. They consider each other friends, and I'm so happy about that. They were all on stage together for the Hall of Fame that one year too, right? And I just loved it to see that, because as a fan of the Hardys and Edge and Christian, it was and Lita, it was hard in 2005 watching what happened with that whole affair and everything, and then they worked together. And to see them in way different places in their lives, Matt and Edge, both with great, stable partners and wives and families and children. They seem as happy as ever. And, you know, the Lita stuff is far, far behind them. So that's all very cool. And just Edge being in AEW at all is just still, I'm still getting used to it. It hasn't even been a week yet. Hasn't even been a full week since Adam Copeland debuted in AEW, and it's still surreal. And I've loved seeing those comments from fans on social media. I've seen it a lot. It's just crazy to see him there. It's just so surreal to hear Metalingus on Dynamite in AEW. That's awesome. And I'm glad that Edge was able to retain the music. You know, that's Cody and CM Punk and Adam Copeland, all within the last couple of years, have been able to go into new wrestling environments with their theme music completely intact. And that's something that was super rare back in the 90s. It was virtually impossible. Imagine if Razor and Diesel could keep the music, but not the name. Imagine they could keep the music and the nickname, but not their actual name. So it would be Big Daddy Cool Kevin Nash and the bad guy Scott Hall showing up on Nitro with their Jim Johnson music playing. That would have been fucking nuts. And that's kind of what this is like, seeing him there. So when people jump ship, I don't even care which side. I don't care who's jumping where. I don't care. I just like to see it happen. And I wish more fans felt that way instead of getting mad about it. Because getting mad is stupid. Stop getting mad. Bunch of weirdos. Anyway, that stuff was great. Can't wait to see what Edge and Christian, Adam and Christian, do in the future. That is one of my favorite storylines to watch right now in all of professional wrestling. Good stuff, good stuff. And you know what? That segment, a lot of it is Christian. A lot of the reason I thought that segment between those two was so good was more Christian than Edge. Great to see Edge there. Huge Edge fan. I'm an Edge mark. You guys all know that. But Christian was what made that segment. And that's something that I think is underappreciated about Christian and always has been. And I feel like now he's going to be able to let that shine through and show, you know, how much talent and how smart this guy really is. So I can't wait to see what Edge and Christian do. Apparently they've got a pretty good amount of creative freedom here, and they've probably always wanted to do this. You know, even Edge himself said he's free. He feels free, you know, because he isn't, even though he loves WWE and appreciates them, when you're there, you do have handcuffs, like it or not. Even the biggest stars do. He's uncuffed in AEW, and I think the two of them are going to have all kinds of fun. And like I said, guess who benefits? Us. Holy shit. The Adam Cole and Roderick Strong stuff was amazing. Now, apparently, this was the segment that was fucked up with the audio earlier, so that sucks. I wasn't home to watch Dynamite live, but if I was watching this segment live, I would be really mad if I wasn't able to hear it, because you could tell just visually it was funny. You know, if you can't hear what's going on and you're seeing Matt Taven pet a giraffe, what the fuck are you thinking in your head? What's going on? So that sucks that the fans weren't able to see that, and that sucks that TBS fucked that up. But luckily, Tony Khan was able to get the segment replayed with the audio issues restored, and it was amazing. So, of course, last week, Roddy came out, begged Adam Cole to come with him, and it's an emergency. And then Adam left, and MJF vowed to be there waiting for Adam when he came back, and that's when Jay White was attacked by the Masked Man and all that shit, right? So now Adam Cole has to go deal with Roddy because he said, you know, I need you, it's an emergency. So he goes to Roddy's house. And Roddy is there with the Kingdom. He goes inside, and Roddy, you know, because he's in the wheelchair with the neck brace, and Adam Cole has got the broken ankle that we're still not even quite sure about. He got Adam a scooter. So one of those like scooters that when you have a bum leg, you kind of kneel on and scoot your ass around. So then fun ensues. Just complete, unadulterated fun ensues as the two of them race around Roddy's house. Adam in his scooter, Roddy in his wheelchair. They are having a ball. And then Adam says, well, this has been really fun, Roddy. Thank you for the present, but I got to go. And Roddy's like, no, I still need help. I still need your help doing something. I need your help moving some furniture. They need to, the feng shui is all out of whack in Roddy's house. And Cole was like, why can't the Kingdom guys do that? And Roddy's like, I need you because I love you or whatever. So then he's like, I still need surgery on my ankle. I need plates and screws. So he hasn't had this surgery done yet. So that's a big red flag there. But Adam continues, or he proceeds to help Roderick move the shit around that he needs. The whole segment was just hilarious. Loved that. But with Cole, if this, and I don't know. I don't know the story here exactly. But I feel like if this injury was legitimate and you needed a surgery that was going to require screws and plates, that surgery would have already been completed by now. So the fact that he keeps saying he needs surgery on his ankle is making me wonder if it's legit or not. Because when he jumped off that platform and injured himself, that was legit. He wasn't really faking that. He came up hobbling there, and a lot of fans were like, oh shit, he hurt himself. I don't think that was part of the work. But I feel like maybe when he did that, maybe he just rolled his ankle. It's swollen as fuck. And the doctor looked at it and was like, you need to be off that thing for 4 weeks, but you're going to be fine. And then they can do the angle where he needs surgery and he's going to be out much longer, only to reveal that he's not injured or something. So that's what I'm hoping they do. The Vince McMahon popping out of the wheelchair at Survivor Series type of thing with Adam Cole. But we still don't know if the injury swerve is going to be to trick the Kingdom or Roderick Strong or MJF. If this is all part of Adam Cole's ruse, we don't know. But it feels like they wouldn't be putting this surgery off if it's a surgery that's going to require this much work and this much recovery time. You want to get moving on that, unless they need Adam Cole for TV a couple of weeks to do some of these things. Maybe they don't want him to have the surgery yet so they can film some more segments, because once he does have the surgery, then we're talking about rehab and, and PT and all of that. So maybe he won't be available for TV if he's, undergoing rehab and physical therapy for his surgery. So I guess maybe it could be legit, but I like the fact that you really don't know. And like I floated last week, this idea of an interesting situation they find themselves in is that Adam Cole could wind up being legitimately injured, but then at the end of it, claim he faked it on TV. You know what I mean? Like he got legitimately injured here. And then we saw the angle with the Masked Man last week. So we didn't see him on Dynamite this past week. We'll talk about MJF in a minute. But if the Masked Man returns and he starts showing his face periodically on TV over the next couple of weeks, and then once Adam Cole is healed, you do a big reveal on TV. Basically when Adam Cole is healed in real life, but he's still doing the kayfabe injury. When it comes time to take the mask off, however you do it, you reveal it to be Adam Cole. And then in kayfabe, he can say, I faked the injury. It's been me under the mask the whole time, when really it's just a body double, while he is legitimately healing his real injury. You see what I'm saying here? Like they can kind of, what would this be called? Like an inverted shoot work or something? Like, I don't even know how you would phrase this or how you would, define what I'm trying to describe here. But, taking his legit injury and then pretending it was all fake, part of the ruse, could be a really interesting and creative way to take a real life situation and weave it into the storyline and make it better. And that would be awesome if it turned out to be Adam Cole and he claimed that the very first night that the Masked Man attacked Jay White, that was him. His ankle was fine the whole time. And he was just fooling. It was just a swerve or whatever. But I don't know why you would attack Jay White then, if it's all a ruse or a way to manipulate MJF. So we don't know what direction they're going. We have ideas. We have lots of different directions we could see it go. And these are the best types of storylines, because the Bloodline was kind of doing that for a little while too. Every week was kind of must see. Oh shit, what's going to happen? And very, very little of it was predictable. And it's all kind of fallen out now. Bloodline shit sucks. But when it was at its peak, it was at its peak. And it was must-see TV every week. Every word of dialogue you listen to. I mean, I tune promos out. Really, when I'm watching Raw and shit, if I've got Damian Priest on the mic talking, he's a great talker, but I don't really care what he says, to be honest. But with these type of angles, you do. With Christian and Edge, you do. With Cole and MJF, you do. With Roman and the Bloodline, you do. And I think they're in a great situation here to where the fans don't really know. I've seen a lot of people complain about being spoiled and surprises being spoiled. AEW is in a really good position here to really surprise us if they want. And apparently Adam Cole really is injured, the talent has seen him on crutches and he's walking around. I believe that his injury is legit. I'm hoping that it's not surgery serious. It's just very sprained, rolled the ankle, swollen up. You need to stay off it for a month, that type of thing. Not broken bones where screws and plates need to be inserted to fix you. Because if that's the case, then you're looking at 8 months or longer until you come back. So if the screws and the plate surgery is real, then we're not going to see Adam Cole in the ring for a while. So I'm hoping that the injury is legit, but the seriousness of the injury is being embellished. That, for us, I believe, is the best case scenario, because the last thing we want is for Adam Cole to be really injured and seriously injured. I hope that after I say all of this, we don't read on the internet in 1 hour that Adam Cole had successful surgery on his ankle, because then I'll look stupid. But I feel like maybe that's what they're going for here. And with MJF, he had his hands full on Dynamite too, because Adam Cole went to Roddy's house to feng shui shit and ride around on a scooter. So that left MJF all by himself to contend with Bullet Club Gold, who came out to the ring, the three of them, the ass boys and the juicy ass of Bullet Club Gold was there. No Jay White. They're in the ring shitting on MJF, and then MJF comes out in the ramp in the aisleway and calls Juice Robinson a talentless taint, to which Juice replies that he has a rock hard taint. So that's nice, isn't it? It's nice on a Wednesday just to hear a guy talk about how rock hard and juicy his taint is. You love to hear that. Jay White would then wind up making his presence known when MJF decides that he's just going to go right to the ring and just kick all three of their asses. He takes off his shirt, he goes in the ring, they all retreat, and then, of course, Jay White comes in from behind, hits MJF with the, what the fuck is it? Not the switchblade. What's his move? Whatever the Sister Abigail is. Hits him with that, and then gets on the mic and challenges. Oh, I'm sorry, this happened. Oh, no, he takes the belt. That's right. After he beat him up, Sister Abigailed him, takes the title. Now he's got the actual title, and he's in the aisleway with the belt that he stole and challenges MJF to a title match at Full Gear, which MJF accepts. So that match is official for Full Gear in LA, show that I will be at the Forum. MJF defending against Jay White. If MJF beats Jay White, he will be the longest running AEW champion in history, holding the belt for a year, I believe, right? He might already be the longest running. I don't know who's got the record, but he's going to hold the title for a year, and I think he's going to be the first guy to do that, right? Kenny held it for a long time, but I think MJF will hold it for over a year. I forgot the timeline. Let me know who's got the record in AEW. So that, honestly, is a pretty sweet-ass main event. That is a main event, that also tells me that this might be a time-killing thing for MJF, because Adam Cole legitimately is still hurt, needs some time. He wouldn't be ready by Full Gear anyway, that type of thing. So now he's going to have a match with Jay White. I still feel like there's other matches he could have before the Adam Cole storyline comes to a head. He should have another match with, maybe a Ricky Starks or someone like that as well. So it's going to be Jay and MJF at Full Gear. I suppose Jay White could win the title. I'd have no issue with that. I think Jay White is a main event player 100%. But the idea of MJF holding the title for a year, continuing his run, I'm into that. I'm kind of hoping he does wind up winning that. And I'm sure Adam Cole, maybe even the Kingdom, will get involved in that, because, otherwise it's going to be a 4-on-1 scenario with MJF going up against all members of Bullet Club Gold, kind of like we saw Trick Williams on NXT on Tuesday have to go up against all 4 members of Judgment Day, which are all 5 members, if you count McDonough on NXT. So it's going to maybe be a situation like that, but I'm stoked for Full Gear, MJF and Jay White. We got to talk about Timeless Tony Storm. They've been airing these Portrait of a Star segments with RJ City that have been really good. And with each one of these, Tony Storm devolves into more of a, kind of a nutcase, and she's really kind of losing her mind. And this, again, is something that AEW is doing really well. The best characters throughout the history of wrestling in WWE, WCW, AEW, wherever, and TNA, a lot of them are just kind of falling ass backwards into. You try something and it just works. TNA had Broken Matt, which was the most, on the surface, was the most ridiculous thing I had ever seen. I just thought it was nonsense, and it turned out to be hugely over. None of us knew how well the bloodline shit was going to work out either. Sometimes the best angles just happen. You just fall ass backwards into them. And Toni Storm, a couple months ago, had that promo backstage where she's kind of doing, where she's kind of doing the thing and she's got the look. And now she's this, jilted, Hollywood starlet. And it's great because she's really fucking losing it. So it was in this Portrait of a Star segment with RJ City that she calls herself timeless. I'm timeless. I'm timeless. I'm timeless. So now she's timeless Toni Storm. Well, timeless Toni Storm had a match on Dynamite as well against Sky Blue. Now, there's a couple of interesting things here. Now, Toni Storm has been really getting over tits out and slapping people's titties off. She wants to slap people's titties off, give people titty slaps, and when you go out to the ring, you need to have your tits out. It's all about tits right now with Toni Storm, and I'm not complaining. So Toni Storm is doing that. Sky Blue comes out, and if you noticed, she was a little bit off. Normally, Sky Blue is extremely lively. She's extremely energetic. She's extremely happy and enthusiastic. Willow Nightingale is like that too. And Sky Blue came out not really doing a whole lot. She was a little bit more serious coming down to the ring, not a lot of smiling. And she's got the little eye thing there. And somebody pointed out that Julia Hart might actually be in the beginning stages of forming kind of like a sub-faction from House of Black with all of the women whose face she's spitting in. She's spitting Willow's face too. There's a picture floating around of Willow and Sky Blue backstage, each with a thing on their eye, kind of with a serious look on their face. And maybe this is Julia's way of, cursing people or bringing them into her faction, and it's kind of something that she's adopted from Malachi Black with the mist. And this carries all the way into the WWE stuff that Malachi did with the losing the eye and all of that. And then he carried that into AEW, and now it's transferring over to Julia. This is awesome. And some people are pointing out that maybe Julia could be starting a little faction here. Now, some people think that maybe you shouldn't be turning Willow Nightingale heel. I agree. Willow is an absolutely wonderful wrestling personality. She lights up a room. She puts a smile on my face whenever she comes out. She's wonderful. She's gorgeous. We all love Willow. She's one of the best parts of professional wrestling right now. And what's even better about it is how good she's getting in the ring. She's really good. And I guess if we don't want Willow Nightingale to turn heel, I guess I can understand that. But it might be kind of fun. Might be kind of fun for something like this. It's not like, because it would be basically presented as Willow doesn't have a choice. What happened to her took over her. It possessed her or whatnot. Maybe it's like it's almost against her will. And maybe if they form this faction, you can do little subtle things with Willow to where you can see like she kind of wants to get out, but she can't. She's too, she's being controlled or whatever. Maybe they can do something like that. So I'll give it a chance. Even though Willow is a tremendous babyface and, she's one of the positive, parts of pro wrestling right now. It would be a good way to get TV time for women too if you started making factions. Now Julia, has got some girls with her. And Sky Blue would fit that perfectly as well. And we've seen the changes starting in her, and that would be great if they did that. Sky Blue, though, had to have her match with Toni Storm, and she got her titties slapped. She was brought out to the guardrail. Toni Storm holds her down and says, "It's time for a titty slap," and slaps the shit out of Sky Blue's titties. That was a shame. Toni Storm, of course, got the win, and her look is becoming more and more kind of disheveled. She's almost got like a half Chelsea, hot mess Chelsea Green thing happening with the smeared lipstick. I love that. Toni Storm is up there as one of the best characters right now in all of wrestling. She's turning a lot of heads. Everybody is heaping a ton of praise. I haven't heard one single person, internet personality, podcast, or anybody like that, have anything whatsoever negative to say about what Toni Storm is doing. She is being universally praised across the board. And I've been saying for a couple of months now that I believe Toni Storm is the best women's wrestler they have. She is the one with the most star potential. She's the one with the most ability. And she's the one I believe is the most marketable. I like Britt and all of that, but Tony's better. Tony's just better. And she's good at what she does. She's the best woman they have there, and they should put everything behind Tony, I believe. So we'll see how this continues to go week after week, but Tony Storm is hilarious, and I'm loving all of that. I'm loving Powerhouse Hobbs joining Don Callis' family. That was also cool. Now, Jericho and Kenny teamed back up again to take on Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher. Poor Mark Davis, Kyle Fletcher's Aussie Open tag team partner, has been injured, broke his wrist at Wrestle Dream. So he's going to be out for a while. That sucks. But luckily, they're finding things for Fletcher to do, teaming up here with Takeshita to take on Jericho and Kenny. Now, Kenny and Jericho got the win. After the match, Powerhouse Hobbs shows up attacking both men, attacking Kenny, attacking Jericho. He annihilates Jericho on the outside of the ring, even into the crowd. I think they're over the barricade, and he's beating the hell out of them there. And then he's back in the ring. They tie Kenny up in the ropes, and Don Callis just smacks him real hard with a chair shot to the head. And Kenny just kind of winces and goes down. And Powerhouse Hobbs officially joins the Don Callis family. Now, I actually am happy about this. Now, Hobbs has jumped around. He's already been with a couple of factions, but this one I think is much better for him. This is going to give him programs with main event talent like Jericho's and Kenny's and things like that. And Callis has a good spot in the company. Being aligned with Callis is usually a pretty good place to be in AEW in the 4 years it's been around. So this is probably, so far, the best place for Hobbs in terms of being with a group or a faction. I'm hoping that this one actually sticks, because the QT Marshall shit didn't help him at all. And Hobbs has got a ton of talent. The way he's been physically changing and improving in the past couple of years, even his physique now is just getting scarier and scarier with each passing day. He was always a big guy, but now he's got that ripped definition to him that is just sick, and love Powerhouse Hobbs. So hopefully this results in big things for Powerhouse Hobbs. I also want to talk about Wardlow. Wardlow made his return as well on Dynamite against Griff Garrison. Griff Garrison's in the ring. He's introduced, and then Wardlow's music plays. I think it was unannounced. I don't think they announced that match was happening, right? And Wardlow just makes a beeline for the ring. We have not seen him on TV since June. And this is this is a man that the company has massively fucked up. Wardlow had so much momentum. He was getting over organically. Fans loved him. I was at Double or Nothing, last year when he squashed MJF into oblivion. Wardlow was over. And then he just got immediately cooled off and kind of put on the back burner. Nobody knows why. I don't know if it's a short Tony Khan attention span or what, but it's almost like they forgot about this guy that was building all sorts of momentum. And they've done this a couple of times with other pieces of talent. And I think it's really something they need to work on, because you shouldn't have to be in this position of what you did on Wednesday night, sending Wardlow out there for the first time in 3 months to angrily squash somebody. He should have never left, So if this is if Wardlow is kind of showing his frustration here, maybe this is going to be part of Wardlow's anger, because if you noticed, he was a completely different Wardlow when he came out. He didn't do the big powerbomb symphony thing where he played to the crowd and all of that. He came down there and completely destroyed, ate and shit out Griff Garrison in just a couple of seconds, to the point where he didn't even pin him. The referee just said, "That's it. He's going to die if I don't stop the match." And then Wardlow left the ring, not up the ramp, but through the crowd, taking his straps down, power walking through the crowd, looks pissed off. So if this is the new, Wardlow persona, he's maybe going to be a heel now, or just a little bit more serious of a babyface, an ass-kicking, pissed off babyface that's going to go out there and take what he wants. I'm all for that, because Wardlow is another one of those guys. I don't know what his contract status is, but I would think that he might be another good candidate to leave for WWE. And maybe that's why we saw him on TV, because Tony Khan is seeing people leave his company for WWE. He just lost a big one in Jade Cargill. And now you got Wardlow sitting there. Tony Khan might be thinking to himself, this guy has a year left on his contract. If I don't start using him, he's as good as gone. So maybe the only way I can convince him at this point to re-sign with me is if I start using him. and I start putting him on TV. Let's give him a little bit of a run. And this might be Tony Khan's way of trying to convince Wardlow to not ditch him whenever his contract is up. And like I said, I don't know. Wardlow's contract might be up in 3 months. I don't know, but it might be a year off whenever it is. Wardlow is a name that has been talked about a lot, about somebody who could be jumping to WWE in the future. Thunder Rosa is another one whenever she's healthy. And whatever her contract deal is, apparently she doesn't get along with a few women in AEW. She might leave. Ricky Starks might leave. So Tony Khan, if he doesn't want another repeat of Cody and Jade, and that's enough for him, he doesn't want to lose any more, then these are the things that need to start waking him up, and I don't know in his head. I don't know like how self-aware Tony Khan is. I don't know if Tony Khan knows that he hasn't used Wardlow. Like if he understands that, because fans complain about it. So I'm hoping that Tony Khan at least understands and acknowledges and is aware that they didn't use Wardlow and they kind of fumbled him. And maybe this is his way of trying to fix that, but it really shouldn't have been broken to begin with. We shouldn't need to fix it. Wardlow should have been well on his, a massive star by now based on the amount of momentum he had a year and a half ago. And with him being back on TV now, another match that I think needs to happen at some point is Wardlow and MJF. And that's another thing. So let's say if you're Tony Khan, and again, it's just hypothetical, just juicy speculation. I don't know the facts at all. But let's just say hypothetically, Wardlow's contract is up in 9 months. 9 months from now. Tony Khan is probably saying to himself, I don't want this guy who squashed my champion a year ago in one of the most lopsided victories and matches in AEW history. I don't want this guy going to WWE with that victory under his belt. So let's bring him back to TV, build him up, give him a bunch of wins, make him a pissed off heel to where eventually he gets on the mic and says, that world champion that you have in this company, I destroyed him. He could never beat me. Roll the footage of Double or Nothing 2022, and then they show the footage of him powerbombing the fuck out of MJF and pinning him with a boot on his chest. And that prompts MJF to come out. And maybe at Winter is Coming or at Revolution in February, you do MJF and Wardlow. And MJF beats him clean. And then, if Wardlow's going to leave when his contract is up, Tony Khan can rest easy that at least MJF got that win back. Maybe that's part of the motivation. I don't know. I just guess things on this podcast. We just guess. And that's a guess. Might not be accurate at all. But if it is, it would make sense, wouldn't it? That Tony Khan, as a booker, if he sees the writing on the wall and he knows he's going to lose Wardlow, well, I'm going to get him back on TV and have him job to MJF before he leaves. Or Wardlow could be hanging around, re-signing, and this is the beginning of his new push. I hope that's it. But, when you do look, one of the things I always said over the years about Jade Cargill and Wardlow is I said this about Wardlow all the way back before he even had a match, when he was wearing the suit. I'm like, how did a guy who looks like this not get noticed by WWE or picked up? How did somebody like that come into the PC for a tryout and not get signed? He looks like Roman Reigns. He looks like a guy that Vince McMahon would whack off to, does he not? So how did he end up in AEW and not WWE? I remember in the early days of AEW, I said on the podcast, I assumed that he must not be able to work. This must be a guy that just looks great and who can't work a lick. And then he did like the cage match with Cody, right? And it was tremendous. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy can work. Made me wonder even more why WWE never picked him up. Jade Cargill, same thing. I'm like, how did she go through the PC and out of there without a contract? Crazy, so because they are very much, kind of a blueprint of what WWE looks for in terms of size and presence and things like that. They both are. So Jade is now there. And if Jade does see a lot of success there, especially early success, and you're sitting there and your Wardlow sitting there watching that, and your contract is up in just months. Bye, Tony. It was fun, but I have to go there because look at what they're going to do with me. I have to. No hard feelings. Goodbye. So that could happen. So Dynamite was interesting. That was a lot going on with the Tony Storm stuff and the Adam Cole and Roderick Strong stuff and the Edge and Christian stuff and the audio issues and all of that. I thought it was a pretty fun show of Dynamite, all things considered. So That's what we saw on Dynamite on NXT. The day before, we did see Dominic win back the NXT North American title from Trick Williams with all of the Judgment Day out there. Balor, Ripley, and Priest were all at ringside distracting the ref, and then JD came in for the final distraction to help Dominic get the win and win back the championship. So I thought him winning the title was just going to be a quick temporary thing, but Rhea Ripley laid down the law to Dom on Monday night. So she said, if you don't come home with that NXT championship, then don't bother coming home. So luckily, Dominic gets to go home, because the thought of a homeless Dom makes me sad. I don't want Dominic to be homeless. I want him and Ripley to be together. So let's talk about this coming Tuesday, big AEW versus NXT showdown. I'm going to take the night off, and I'm going to be here live for that. So we're going to be watching that this Tuesday. Double watch along. I'm going to have AEW right here on the screen next to me, and I'm going to have NXT on the TV on the wall, and we're going to watch both of these, and we're going to react to both of them on Tuesday night. So please join me for that. That should be a lot of fun, and both shows are being stacked up. So here's what AEW's got on tap for Title Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, October 10th, which is Tony Khan's birthday. When he said that at the media scrum, Edge laughed his ass off. Funniest thing I've ever seen. So here's what AEW has for Dynamite on Tuesday. Saraya defending her AEW women's title against Hikaru Shida. Jon Moxley challenging Rey Fenix for the international title. That match is interesting, because that tells me they're putting that title back on Moxley. They never intended it to go on Phoenix, and I think now this is Tony Khan's way of back on track with that. So I think Moxley is a shoo-in to win that international title on Tuesday. We have Jay White versus Hangman Page. We have Powerhouse Hobbs versus Chris Jericho. We have Edge versus Luchasaurus, and you know there's going to be a lot of Christian and Nick Wayne stuff happening there. And we have Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson. That's a good-looking card right there. Some people don't like. I saw so many criticisms of, oh, Edge goes to AEW and he's got to wrestle Luchasaurus. What a dumb match to do. These same people who complain about the Edge and Luchasaurus match are the same ones that complain that AEW just throws matches together. Why do we even need this match? What's the story? What's the story? Well, here they're giving us a match. The reason we're getting Edge and Luchasaurus is because Luchasaurus, light bulb, is associated with Christian. You're not going to do Edge and Christian the first night. You're saving that shit for a pay-per-view. Hey, Tito. Very cute back there. You just save that stuff for a pay-per-view. So Edge, naturally, if Christian has friends or a group or a faction around him, and they're going to be battling with Edge, this is typical wrestling stuff. You go through the lower members of the faction first before you get to the head of the snake. That's all this is. This match is part of the story. You know, but yet if they put Daniel Garcia and Wheeler Yuta in the ring, like, what's the story? I'm like, well, it doesn't have one, I guess. But this one does. So if stories really matter to you, why the fuck are you bitching about Edge and Luchasaurus? You're talking out of both sides of your dick. Like, what the fuck? So anyway, that match is happening too. AEW looks great. But again, when you see what they have lined up here, this doesn't seem like anything more than they normally do. This would be a normal Dynamite card or a normal special card, a Fighter Fest or any sort of one of those special Dynamites, a Grand Slam or something. This is the type of card they would give us. You know, they're not trying to bring in a bunch of legends from the past to, you know, to get ratings. They've got their talent out there doing their thing. That's not what's happening in NXT. WWE's not using their NXT talent to go up against AEW. They're using their WWE talent. WWE is bringing in for NXT, get this, Cody Rhodes. And we've been seeing a lot of the clips of Cody from AEW back in the day where he would, during the Tuesday Night Wars, where he would call NXT hip toss class and kind of take shots at NXT. And now he's going to be appearing on the very same program that went head to head with the company that he helped start. That's one of the cool things about competition. Seeing Cody Rhodes in an NXT environment is going to be super surreal. He's got a big announcement to make, apparently. What's that announcement going to be? I think it's going to be one of two things. He's either going to introduce Jade Cargill, which I kind of hope he doesn't do that, because I want her to come in alone by herself. Or he's going to announce the return of the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Tournament. That's what I'm hoping it is, the Dusty Classic. Cody gets to be the one to deliver that announcement to the fans. Otherwise, he might bring out Jade. John Cena is also booked for the show. John Cena has never been on an NXT program before, at least as we know it now. That's going to be a very surreal thing to see too. They booked Asuka versus Roxanne Perez, so Asuka's going to be there. Becky Lynch is your current NXT champion, so she's going to be there. And I don't know why, but I've seen Paul Heyman's name attached to this as well. So I don't know what Paul Heyman is doing there, but apparently Paul Heyman is on the show as well. And The Undertaker has been rumored to be at the PC next week, helping out, making appearances there, maybe filming something, talking to the trainees. He's going to be there. So if WWE loads up NXT with Cody Rhodes, John Cena, The Undertaker, it's going to feel like it's one of those WrestleManias where they keep bringing back all the stars and they're using that to help sell the pay-per-view. This is crazy. I don't have anything against it. I love it. Some fans are like, oh, WWE's pretty desperate putting Cody and John Cena. I wouldn't call it desperation. I don't think that's desperation. I think that's competition. I think that's them recognizing that AEW is coming to their night, and that's going to affect their rating. Both ratings are probably going to be lower than what they were. They're probably both going to do lower than 800,000 because they're both on at the same time. You're going to divide your audience. It's okay. I like that. I maybe don't like it every week, but I like it every now and then. And WWE is reacting to what AEW does. Hey, WWE doesn't consider AEW competition because they're not. The fucking hell they aren't. They're a pro wrestling company. Just because WWE has higher numbers does not mean AEW is not competition. And if you're stupid enough to say AEW is not competition while looking at a card or looking at an NXT show that WWE has lined up for Tuesday, I don't know what fucking universe you are living in. Because the only reason Cody Rhodes and John Cena and Asuka and Heyman are going to be on that show is because AEW is on the same night. That is the only fucking reason. If AEW wasn't on Tuesday, then John Cena would be sitting at his house whacking off. He wouldn't be on NXT. They're doing this because of the competition. They want to see if they can beat AEW. Imagine that. Now, I'm going to give you a prediction. I personally believe that AEW will draw a higher rating than NXT. But I think it's going to be close. I do. Because NXT's been doing good numbers on Tuesdays already as it is. Now you're going to add these players because I personally am kind of interested to see what it's going to look like for Cody Rhodes to be in an NXT ring. At least the fans can't complain about the attendance because Dynamite is going to have about 100 times more people than NXT will at that show. But it's going to be cool to see Cody Rhodes there. It's going to be cool to see John Cena there. It's going to be very cool to see that visually. So that's why I can't wait to have NXT right there and AEW right here and you guys right here and watch all this shit together on Tuesday night. I can't wait. I love that. So I'm not going to call WWE desperate because I think WWE is they're never going to be in a position where they have to be desperate. They're too big. They're WWE. They're fucking humongous. What they're not desperate, but they are reactionary. They're reacting to what AEW is doing by stacking up the show with a bunch of legends and main roster guys to not only put a hurting on their rating, but actually see if they can even draw higher. Because imagine if they do. Imagine if NXT draws a higher rating than AEW. That's going to be a fun day on social media, isn't it? Oh my God. If that happens, I'm just going to take the fucking day off of social media, but on Wednesday. But, if it's the other way around and AEW wins like I expect them to, I'm curious how close it's going to be, and I think it's probably going to be close. So let me give you some early predictions here. Let's see. Let me think. I predict next Tuesday, AEW will do 810,000. NXT will do 740,000. 810, 740. That's what I predict. Try to remember that because I'll forget. 810, 740. That's like my early prediction. That could easily be reversed. NXT could get 810. AEW could get 760. One thing you got to remember is AEW is on a night they're not normally on. NXT is. If you move NXT 1 week to Wednesday, and then AEW stacked up their show to react to that, then I would expect AEW to win because they're on their normal night. NXT is not. But here, AEW is going to a different night a night that NXT is already on, already established. Fans are used to seeing them on that night. And that's why I think this rating is going to be close. And even though I think AEW is going to squeak it out, I don't think they're going to squeak it out by much. I think it's going to be super close. And I like that. I hope that it is, because the closer shit is, and just the more these wrestling companies motivate each other just by their existence alone. WWE doesn't care about AEW. The fuck they don't, Junior. They absolutely do. It's an easily verifiable fact. For you not to see that just means that you're an ignorant idiot. So they very much care. These companies very much care about each other, what the other is doing. If CM Punk never came back to AEW, I don't know if WWE would really have the interest in him, after all these years. But given what happened in AEW, WWE then being able to sign him and bring him out, it's all part of this. And like I said 4 or 5 times already in this podcast, we benefit from this type of stuff. So instead of arguing and being mad, enjoy it and appreciate it. I promise you'll live a happier life for it. Tonight on SmackDown goes live in 14 minutes. Here's what we got. Rey Mysterio versus Bobby Lashley. Austin Theory versus Dragon Lee. Asuka and Charlotte versus Io and Bayley. Can Asuka and Charlotte coexist? I don't give a frosted mini wheat fuck if they can coexist or not, WWE. Cody and Jay are also following JD to SD. So apparently Judgment Day is on SmackDown tonight. Cody and Jay are following him there because they've got a tag team title match tomorrow at Fastlane, which brings us to Fastlane. Here's our predictions. We got 15 minutes to do this, and then I got to get out of here. We have only 5 matches announced. They might tack one on tonight, so I can only predict what we have announced. The LWO taking on Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Lashley and the Street Profits. I'm hoping they debut maybe some new music tonight on SmackDown, maybe. That would be great. If not, maybe we get that at Fastlane. So I'm picking Lashley and the Street Profits to win over the LWO because I believe Ray and Santos are going to have problems. That's going to lead to Santos beating him for that U.S. title. We have Damian Priest and Finn Balor defending their WWE Tag Team titles against Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. I don't know if I want Cody to win any belt before he wins the world title. If he became tag team champions with Jey, that certainly would give him something to do. That would certainly keep him connected to the bloodline and would give him some material to do until you move into 2024 and you set him on the course for WrestleMania 40. But I don't know if I want to see that happen. I don't know. I mean, and Owens and Zayn are probably going to be back on TV next week, and it feels like it's going to be Cody, Jey, Owens, and Zayn against Judgment Day at War Games. If, in fact, we are still getting a War Games, that's what it looks like they're kind of setting up for here. So I'm going to predict Balor and Priest to retain. I feel like that's the best way to do it. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't want Cody or Jey taking a pin right now. So I do feel like maybe they could win the titles, and don't forget, we still have Senior in the bank. Maybe he could show up later and cash in. I'm going to go Judgment Day over Cody and Jey. Maybe some accidental dissension with Cody and Jey or an accidental super kick cost them the match. I don't know. I'm going to go Judgment Day. Io Sky and Bayley versus... Oh, wait. That's tonight. It's Io Sky and versus Asuka and Charlotte. 3-way for the title. The tag match is tonight. Io Sky, at least I hope. I could see them putting the belt on Charlotte here. I could see them doing that. I hope not. I'd rather just have Io Sky continue her run. My only thought is, Charlotte winning. Is she still trying to pass herself off as a babyface? My only thought is maybe Charlotte winning the title and then maybe Bianca coming back and joining her husband and his new faction as a heel, and maybe she takes out Charlotte. But I kind of hope that Io Sky holds onto the belt a little while longer. I'm not really ready for her to drop that yet. So I'm going to predict Io Sky to retain. Seth Rollins against Shinsuke Nakamura, last man standing match. This is where we have the possibility for a cash in. It's a last man standing match. Something crazy happens. Damian Priest, Senior in the Bank, could show up. Or Mr. Senior Money in the Bank could show up. I would be surprised if he didn't show up, especially, if Seth Rollins, is barely able to survive. If this is one of those things where both men are down and the referee is counting, and then Seth Rollins stands up at the last minute and beats the count and wins only to fall back and crumple back down. Why would Damian Priest not come out? This might be a good time to put the belt on Damian Priest. I don't know when he's going to have a better opportunity. He's already on the card, unless they do something in the match where he gets taken out or injured, and they have to wheel him away or he's not in the building to kind of explain why he wouldn't come out later. They might do that. But if Priest, retains his title or even loses his title, if Priest and Balor drop the tags to Cody and Jay, and then think about this. Priest and Balor drop the belts to Cody and Jay. Priest then cashes in later on Seth Rollins. Now he's world champion. Then Balor and JD McDonough team up to take the belts off of Cody and Jay. Now it's Balor and JD are tag team champions. Dominic's the North American champion. Rhea's the women's champion. And Damian Priest is the world heavyweight champion. I would love to see that. Love to see that. No problem at all. So this is a hard one to predict. I'm going to predict Seth Rollins to retain the title over Shinsuke Nakamura in the last man standing match. But I feel like there's a big chance for Priest to cash in. A big one. I don't know when you're going to find a better option or better chance for him to cash in. So we will see how that goes. But I think Seth Rollins will at least come out of the last man standing match with the championship. And like I said, we're going to be talking about this the day late. We're not going to be reviewing the show until Sunday. Link is up now. 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 Pacific. Fastlane day after review. We'll see if we're talking about Damian Priest as the world heavyweight champion or not. And then finally, and what I'm assuming is going to be the main event, unless we have a Priest cash-in. If we have a Priest cash-in, I would do Seth and Nakamura last. If Seth and Nakamura does not go last, then I don't think we get a cash-in. If it does go last, I think Damian Priest walks out of Fastlane as the champion. I do. But if it goes on semi-main, then I think the main event is going to go to LA Knight and John Cena, taking on Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa. It's Cena and LA Knight. Of course they're going to win this match. A lot of talk about LA Knight going into Saudi Arabia to face Roman Reigns. I'm cool with that. He's going to lose. Fans, prepare yourselves because he will lose, and that's okay. He won't be buried. He's not going to be buried. He's going to be getting a championship match against Roman in Saudi Arabia on a huge fucking stadium show. It's a far cry from Max Dupree. So let's not complain too hard here. Yes, LA Knight's getting super over, but it might not really be in the cards for him to be world champion right now. But maybe you can give him a title match now, a match with Roman Reigns, kind of how they booked the Drew McIntyre matches where Roman wins but barely, and then you can revisit it next year after WrestleMania, and LA Knight continues to still be over, and then you do whatever you need to do at Mania, and then you can revisit it if you want. I don't know. Or maybe you even have LA Knight win the title at WrestleMania. Maybe you do. Maybe you do. I don't know. Much like AEW, WWE's got a lot of different avenues they can take to success. We'll just have to see which way they go. But just to recap, Lashley in the streets over the LWO, Judgment Day retaining over Cody and Jay, Io Sky, I hope, retaining over Asuka and Charlotte, Seth Rollins retaining over Nakamura. If that match goes last, I believe Damian Priest will cash in. If not, I think Seth will escape with the title. And in the main event, what probably will be the main event, I've got Cena and LA Knight defeating the Bloodline. So there you go. We wrapped up things 7 minutes before SmackDown airs, just enough time for me to return to the chat and answer any super chats that might be coming through. I think I got a few. Let me scroll all the way up so I don't miss anybody. And I'm sorry if I don't have time to answer all of the other comments in here. Blade Runner. Thank you for that, Denny Down Bad. Not the sister. I'm like the Blade Runner, whatever he calls his sister Abigail. Blade Runner. Thank you. Omega held the belt for 346 days. Okay, so MJF it'll be 365, I guess, at Full Gear or close to that. So he will have the record once he retains, or if he retains, at Full Gear. That should ensure that he gets there. Off Leather Wings, appreciate the $2. Hope all is well. Will you upload this to Spotify? Yes, I will. I will upload it, but not until tonight. Not until tonight. I got to go to work, come home, give me 6 hours, and it'll be up on the podcast feed. I didn't upload my last 2 podcasts because I was so under the weather, and I hate the way my voice sounds when I've got the sniffles and shit. So I didn't put the other 2 ones up, but I will put this one up. It's just going to be a few hours. Hamato, I love seeing that little explosion next to your name. Yeah, Tito. Oh my God, look at him. Hey, Tito. He's completely out. T. Hey, buddy. He's the best. Let me see who else we got. Max, thank you for 5 more. Before you end the stream, for the 10th time, competition is good, so no need to get mad. Yeah, competition is good for the 10th time. It's great. Competition is the best, but you wouldn't know it if you're searching around social media and you see all the D-bags acting like a bunch of D-bags. That's all they do. It's in their goddamn DNA. It's like, oh, let me go online and just be a dick because that's all I have to live for. What a way to live. Did Edge really went to AEW because of Christian? Hell yeah. I believe that is the truth. I believe he wants to go be there with his friends. He's good friends with FTR. They all live next to each other, apparently, in Asheville. Although FTR might be in Florida now because Cash got in all that trouble in Florida. But at least Dax is up there in Greensboro. So in Asheville. So they're all homies. And, you know, as a fan, as somebody who watched Edge and Christian from the very start, I was in the building when both these guys had dark matches before they even had their names. So to see them then and to see where they are now as a fan, I would love to see them ride off into the sunset together. They deserve it. They deserve it. But anyway, I want to thank you guys very much for being here on this Friday afternoon. Enjoy SmackDown, which goes live in about 3 minutes. As a reminder, don't forget, tomorrow I will not be here to watch Fastlane live. I got a huge day at work, so I'm going to have to catch the show later on that night when I get home, and we are going to review it Sunday afternoon before we return later that night on Sunday night to watch No Mercy 2000. So unfortunately, I'm going to be doing the Fastlane review in the middle of a little bit of football. Sorry about that. It's just the way it's got to be this week. And then Sunday night, we will have No Mercy 2000 here and the Sunday night game here, and we'll have a good old happy time together. It's going to be a blast. Thank you so much, guys. Enjoy the rest of your Friday night and enjoy your upcoming weekend. I will catch you Sunday afternoon for our WWE Fastlane.